get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll put it on your face to make you go take it.
Welcome back to the Goddess of Mystery and Mayhem. I'm happy to those who are returning, and for the newcomers to my channel, welcome here. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, let us start our story for today. Edward Warren Miney, September 7, 1926 to August 23, 2006, and Lorraine Rita Warren, née Moran, January 31, 1927 to April 18, 2019, were American paranormal investigators and authors associated with prominent cases of alleged hauntings. Edward was a self-taught and self-professed demonologist, author, and lecturer. Lorraine professed to be clairvoyant and a light trance medium who worked closely with her husband. In 1952, the Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They authored many books about the paranormal and their private investigations into various reports of paranormal activity. They claimed to have investigated well over 10,000 cases during their career. The Warrens were among the first investigators in the Amityville haunting. According to the Warrens, the official website of the NESPR, Viviglam magazine, and several other sources, the NESPR uses a variety of individuals, including medical doctors, researchers, police officers, nurses, college students, and members of the clergy in its investigations. Stories of ghost hauntings popularized by the Warrens have been adapted as or have indirectly inspired dozens of films, television series, and documentaries, including several films in the Amityville horror series and the films in the Conjuring universe. Skeptics Perry DeAngelis and Stephen Novella investigated the Warrens' evidence and described it as blarney. Skeptical investigators Joe Nickel and Benjamin Radford concluded that the better-known hauntings, Amityville and the Snedeker family haunting, did not happen and had been invented. Annabelle, according to the Warrens, in the year 1968, two roommates claimed their Raggedy Ann doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The Warrens took the doll, telling the roommates it was being manipulated by an inhuman presence, and put it on display at the family's occult museum. The legend of the doll inspired several films in the Conjuring universe and is a motif in many others. Perron family. In 1971, the Warrens claimed that the Harrisville, Rhode Island home of the Perron family was haunted by a witch who had lived there in the early 19th century. According to the Warrens, Bathsheba Sherman cursed the land so that whoever lived there somehow died a terrible death. The story is the subject of the 2013 film The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren was a consultant to the production and appeared in a cameo role in the film. A reporter for USA Today covered the film's supposed factual grounding. Amityville. The Warrens are best known for their involvement in the 1975 Amityville horror, in which New York couple George and Kathy Lutz claimed that their house was haunted by a violent, demonic presence so intense that it eventually drove them out of their home. The Amityville horror conspiracy authors Stephen and Roxanne Kaplan characterized the case as a hoax. Lorraine Warren told a reporter for the Express Times newspaper that the Amityville horror was not a hoax. The reported haunting was the basis for the 1977 book The Amityville Horror and adapted into the 1979 and 2005 films of the same name, while also serving as inspiration for the film series that followed. The Warrens' version of events is partially adapted and portrayed in the opening sequence of The Conjuring 2, 2016. According to Benjamin Radford, the story was refuted by eyewitnesses, investigations, and forensic evidence. In 1979, lawyer William Weber stated that he, J. Anson, and the occupants invented the horror story over many bottles of wine. Enfield poltergeist. In 1977, the Warrens investigated claims that a family in the North London suburb of Enfield was haunted by poltergeist activity. While several independent observers dismissed the incident as a hoax carried out by attention-hungry children, the Warrens were convinced that it was a case of demonic possession. The story was the inspiration for The Conjuring 2, although critics say the Warrens were involved to a far lesser degree than portrayed in the movie, and had shown up to the scene uninvited and been refused admittance to the home. Guy Lyon Playfair, a parapsychologist who investigated the Enfield case alongside Maurice Grosse, also says the film greatly exaggerated the Warrens' role in the investigation. He stated in 2016 that they turned up once, and that Ed Warren told Playfair, the Warrens could make a lot of money out of the case. He corroborated the claim that the Warrens were not invited to the Enfield house and that nobody in the family had ever heard of him until Ed Warren turned up. Arne Johnson. In 1981, Arne Cheyenne Johnson was accused of killing his landlord, Alan Bono. Ed and Lorraine Warren had been called before the killing to deal with the alleged demonic possession of the younger brother of Johnson's fiancée. The Warrens subsequently claimed that Johnson was also possessed. At trial, Johnson attempted to plead not guilty because of demonic possession but was unsuccessful with his plea. This story serves as the inspiration for The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, 2021. The case was described in the 1983 book The Devil in Connecticut by Gerald Brittle. Snedeker House. In 1986, Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived and proclaimed the Snedeker House, a former funeral home, to be infested with demons. The case was featured in the 1993 book In a Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting. A TV film that later became part of the Discovery Channel series A Haunting was produced in 2002. The Haunting in Connecticut, a film based on the Warrens' version of events and directed by Peter Cornwell, was released in 2009. Horror author Ray Garton, who wrote an account of the alleged haunting of the Snedeker family in Southington, Connecticut, later called into question the veracity of the accounts contained in his book, saying, the family involved, which was going through some serious problems like alcoholism and drug addiction, could not keep their story straight, and I became very frustrated. It's hard writing a non-fiction book when all the people involved are telling you different stories. To paranormal investigator Benjamin Radford, Garton said of Lorraine, if she told me the sun would come up tomorrow morning, I'd get a second opinion. Smurl family. Pennsylvania residents Jack and Janet Smurl reported their home was disturbed by numerous supernatural phenomena, including sounds, smells, and apparitions. The Warrens became involved and claimed that the Smurl home was occupied by 4 spirits and also a demon that allegedly sexually assaulted Jack and Janet. The Smurls' version of their story was the subject of a 1986 paperback titled The Haunted and a television film of the same name directed by Robert Mandel. According to a 1997 interview with the Connecticut Post, Steve Novella and Perry DeAngelis investigated the Warrens for the New England Skeptical Society, NES. They found the couple to be pleasant people, but their claims of demons and ghosts to be, at best, as tellers of meaningless ghost stories, and at worst, dangerous frauds. They took the $13 tour and looked at all the evidence the Warrens had for spirits and ghosts. They watched the videos and looked at the best evidence the Warrens had. They concluded that, it's all blarney. They found common errors with flash photography and nothing evil in the artifacts the Warrens had collected. They have a ton of fish stories about evidence that got away. They're not doing the good scientific investigation. They have a predetermined conclusion which they adhere to, literally and religiously, according to Novella. Lorraine Warren said that the problem with Perry and Steve is that they don't base anything on a god. Novella responded, it takes work to do solid, critical thinking, to employ your intellectual faculties and come to a conclusion that reflects reality. That's what scientists do every day, and that's what skeptics advocate. In an article for the Sydney Morning Herald that examined whether supernatural films are based on true events, that investigation was used as evidence to the contrary. As novella is quoted, they, the Warrens, claim to have scientific evidence which does indeed prove the existence of ghosts. Which sounds like a testable claim into which we can sink our investigative teeth. What we found was a very nice couple, some genuinely sincere people, but absolutely no compelling evidence. While it was made clear that neither DeAngelis nor Novella thought the Warrens would intentionally cause harm to anyone, they did caution that claims like the Warrens serve to reinforce delusions and confuse the public about legitimate scientific methodology. Ed Warren's book Graveyard, True Hauntings from an Old New England Cemetery, St. Martin's Press, 1992, features a white lady ghost which haunts Union Cemetery. He claimed to have captured her essence on film. The Warrens were responsible for training several self-described demonologists, including Dave Considine and their nephew John Zaffis. Ed Warren was accused of having an affair. In 2017, Judith Penny claimed she had a 40-year-long sexual relationship with Ed, starting when she was underage in 1963. Ed and Lorraine Warren were members of the Roman Catholic Church. They married in 1945. On January 11, 1946, Lorraine gave birth to their daughter named Judy Warren. The Warrens held that demonic forces are likely to possess those who lack faith. Ed died on August 23, 2006, and Lorraine died on April 18, 2019. They were both buried at Stepney Cemetery in Monroe, Connecticut. In addition to investigations, Lorraine ran the Warrens Occult Museum, now closed, in the back of her house in Monroe, Connecticut, with the help of her son-in-law, Tony Spera. The museum displayed many claimed haunted objects and artifacts from around the world. Many of the artifacts from their most famous investigations were featured. The museum is currently owned by Judy Warren and Tony Spera. Well, many people had faith in Warren's work with the supernatural, yet some people called them fraudsters making money off vulnerable clients. I will let you all decide were the Warrens real or frauds. Till we meet again, stay safe in the world and sending you all love and blessings.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. Cause I know you got me up, let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough.